We live in an era where flying across the world takes no time at all, so to sail across the oceans may seem anachronistic, but it may be one of the few ways to truly travel. The slow pace and freedom of movement allow you to fully assimilate what you come across. Having set off from Rome many years ago, we are now in Southeast Asia. Unfortunately, as the population has grown and prosperity has increased, fish stocks in the surrounding waters have dwindled enormously. Intensive fishing and the use of explosives put the fragile equilibrium of the coral reefs at risk. But a recent change of thinking has led to the creation of protected areas in order to limit the damage. We are sailing towards the most central marine reserve of the Indonesian archipelago. Sperm whales escort us for the last few miles of our journey. The presence of these cetaceans allows us to hope that this new marine reserve will restore some balance to the relationship between man and the sea. At the southern end of the Taka Bonerate shelf, which rises from a depth of more than 3,000 meters to a maximum of about 50 meters, is Pulau Raja, one of the few inhabited islands of the atoll. After 2 days of navigation, we can finally drop anchor and visit this fisherman's village. The main resource is dried fish, which is then sent to the neighboring island of Sulawesi. While fishing with nets and lights is a source of income, fishing hooks are what provide food for the family. There isn't a real harbor at Raja, so all the items the inhabitants need are unloaded onto the beach from boats coming from Pulau Selaya, a large island about 50 miles away. While the adults concentrate on fishing, it is up to the children to deliver the goods. We leave the village and set sail for Pulau Tinobo, in the middle of the marine reserve of Taka Bonerate. These are coral islands, small strips of sand colonized by the few plants brought here by the currents. It is underwater that this atoll comes alive. We follow the green turtles who seem to want to guide us through these protected waters. Sponges, shaped like elephant ears, color the seabed with their intense yellows. These demospongi are made of spicules, consisting of silica as well as a protein called spongin. They are fed by filtering plankton and give shelter to polychaete worms. Still following our turtle, we enter the reef. Black corals with their flexible branches, just like the more solid madrepores, shelter Pomacentridae, small fish often overlooked by divers, whose 320 species animate the reef. Aulostomidae, trumpet fishes, a relative of the seahorse, change color to camouflage themselves among the branches of the madrepores, which are shaped like elk horns. Other fishes resemble leaves so as to remain undisturbed in their section of the reef. Forcipiger flavissimus, the yellow long-nosed butterfly fish, are extremely territorial despite their playful appearance. They will not hesitate to show aggression and attack whoever invades their area. Heniochus chrysostomus, who feed on invertebrates, coral polyps, polychaete worms, and small crustaceans, adopt the same camouflage strategy as the butterfly fish. Platycephalidea, the crocodile fish, uses a completely different form of camouflage from the butterfly fish. It covers itself with sand and remains totally still so as to capture any prey that passes within its reach, as well as to hide from predators. Our indefatigable turtle leads us toward a garden of madrepores inhabited by small Pomacentridae, damselfishes, and above all by Pamphiridae, also known as glassfish, due to their transparency, who appear as a sort of mist around these sea anemones. This bustle of activity inevitably attracts the attention of the wrasse, who live hidden amongst the corals. A sort of hierarchy is at play here. The Corangidae come up from the depths, followed by a battery of barracudas, by dentex and other carnivores, and finally the most dangerous creature of all, a diver, even though this time he is only armed with a camera. we resurface. These waters, teeming with life, are one of the reasons travelers from all over the world face discomforts to reach these remote areas. But the islands also offer another sight normally denied to tourists. Aboard our catamaran is a flying dinghy. The first step towards using this singular aircraft is to open the delta wing, which we normally keep wrapped in plastic to protect it from the elements. It is easier to set it up on the beach of the nearby island. Having left the shoreline and gone beyond the barrier reef, we face the wind, ready for takeoff. With a little effort, due to the weight of the passengers, the dinghy finally lifts off the water and takes flight. Above, the contrast between the reef and deeper waters is both clear and inviting. The white sand takes on another dimension, is transformed, and the islands draw us back to them like sirens. Time to return to land. And leave behind both the seabed and the skies of this uncontaminated atoll as we set sail towards another protected area to the north. We take advantage of the shallow, sheltered waters to clean the keels of the Arawa. It's a hive of activity, both in terms of cooking and repairs, which are always necessary. The blue of the sea, which changes hue with every passing hour, is an irresistible call to go back into the water. The moment you dive in, you are surrounded by fish. Ostracidae, also known as boxfishes, reproduce in these shallows. We leave the shallows and, donning our scuba tanks, go towards a shoal of Lujanus casmira, blue-striped snappers. Snappers are nocturnal predators, feeding off invertebrates, crustaceans, squids, smaller fish, and plankton. Carried along by the currents, plankton also attracts much larger animals, such as manta rays, which emerge from the depths following the rhythm of the tides. Given the concentration of fish, even social niceties find a place in Taka Bonerate. A coral head has become a veritable dental laboratory where cleaner fish await their patients, who line up to have food scraps and parasites removed from their mouth and gills. We leave the cleaner fish and make our way further into the multicolored reef. The marine reserve of Taka Bonerate seems to have kept at bay the pollution levels usually present in Indonesian waters. The fish thread their way through the crinoids, the branches of the Plumeridae, and the stinging hydroids, which can have the same painful effect on man as fire corals. Alcyonarias and Gorgonia feed on plankton. Nudibranches find shelter among these soft corals and use camouflage to protect themselves. But the fact is that nudibranches have developed an immunity to the toxins of hydroids and other stinging corals, so that they have become poisonous to larger predators which protect them. Stinging anemones protect clownfish, who are immune to their poison and who, by swimming between their tentacles, attract this organism's prey. Dentex and Platex swim undisturbed among the madrepores. Using his advanced mimetic abilities, a scorpionfish tries to avoid our torchlight by slipping between the rocks and the corals. To hunt, they dart about suddenly and use their large mouths like a hoover. They have poisonous dorsal spines, which they raise in case of danger. These are only ever used in self-defense. Pterosis volitans have many long poisonous spines. While really lethal, their sting is very painful and can cause cardiac arrest. Just like the scorpionfish, Pterosis only use their poisonous spines to defend themselves. They use their pectoral fins as a sort of net with which to immobilize small fish before swallowing them. A green turtle comes towards us as if to bid us farewell before we leave the waters of the Taka Bonerate Atoll. As the sun sets, we come across more sperm whales who seem to want to accompany us on this journey between marine reserves in search of the last Indonesian islands to have survived the impact of man.